December 1991, the Dacha in Foros. Mikhail Gorbachev was not merely isolated, he was a prisoner in a gilded cage. But the most terrible prison was not outside his window, it was inside his own study. On the night of December 22 to 23, a delegation arrived to see him. Not politicians, not ministers. These were men in civilian clothes, without documents, with icy eyes. KGB General Kryuchkov, whose face showed no emotion, placed 3 folders on the table in front of Gorbachev. In the first lay photographs, blurry, taken with a hidden camera. His daughter Irina, exiting her apartment building. His granddaughters, walking to school. The shots were time-stamped from the last 48 hours. The second folder was thicker. It contained reports on regime violations by his family, fabricated evidence, forged witness testimonies that could send his son-in-law to prison for decades on trumped-up charges of speculation. It was a sentence not of death, but of lifelong shame and ruin for his family. But it was the third folder that made Gorbachev's lips turn white. In it was a single sheet of paper, a report from 1986, signed by himself. Approval for the secret operation by Vortex, for the liquidation of unstable elements in case of a state of emergency in the country. The list of interrogation methods, approved by his signature, included so-called measures of physical influence, and beneath that euphemism lay something inhuman. General Kryuchkov calmly explained the rules of the game. Either Gorbachev signs the resignation statement and all accompanying documents on the termination of the USSR's existence, or his family would be destroyed, morally and physically. The photographs in the first folder were merely a hint. He himself would be declared insane and then liquidated during an escape attempt, using the very methods from the third folder that he had once approved. His legacy would not be perestroika, but the disgrace of a mad tyrant. But the most dreadful argument was not in the threats, it was in Gorbachev's silent acquiescence. They showed him his own system, the system he had tried to reform, but which was built on bones and fear. And in that moment, he understood that he was not a victim. He was part of the mechanism that was now grinding him down. He signed everything. His hand trembled, but he put his signature on the death warrant of a great country, not because he was afraid for himself, but because he saw in the cold eyes of Kryuchkov and his companions the true face of the machine he had tried to manage. And that face was soulless, merciless, and utterly victorious. When the delegation left, Gorbachev remained alone in the silence of his study. He did not cry. He looked out the window at the black winter sea. He had just signed the greatest betrayal of his life to save the little he had left, and he understood that those who had forced him to do it were neither victors nor patriots. They were gravediggers, and he had become one of them. On December 25, 1991, the world saw the resignation on television, but no one saw the man whose soul had been killed 3 days earlier in Foros. The true collapse of the USSR did not happen in Belovezskaya Pushcha. It happened in the silence of a study, under pressure from a ruthless machine created by the very man himself. It was not a political capitulation. It was the ritual killing of a state by its own children.